And welcome to the M2 podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ante. My co-host, Mr. J.K. Heath. This is the show where we basically cover the week news review. We're talking gaming industry related esports, personalities, new and upcoming games, and technology innovation. What we like to do at the start of every single episode is just do a quick recap, an update, if you will. And Kyle, what have you been doing this last week?
This last week,
Dude.
I don't know. I think I played a little Battle, but that was like about it gaming wise for me. Um,
How much BattleBit?
I mean, it wasn't much. I think it was like an hour. It was like it was so little. I mean, I had other like things going on, but it was so little. I didn't even get a chance to experiment with the class as much, which I'm still trying to do. So, need to sit down and dedicate some more time. Hopefully this week. But I don't know. I'm just excited because, you know, I'm not only my 1 week from my birthday, but I'm also like 2 days away from like the Sea of Thieves update.
Yep.
The only problem is I don't know when we're playing it, so still gotta figure that part out. But
yeah, we gotta figure out a play date.
yeah, for sure. But I want to get into that, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, I don't know. Like I thought about it this week too. It's kind of like it's like I'm counting down the days of September because like Starfield's that first week, and so I'm like,
True.
And so when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, dude, we're only like 5-6 weeks away at most. Like we're really close. So
yeah, like crazy close.
yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to Starfield and all that. So September will be a good month because it's like Starfield, and then you got Cyberpunk DLC like 2 weeks later. It's crazy. It's gonna be a wild month.
It's true. Yeah. I didn't even think about Cyberpunk. That's like really sneaking up on us.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying, dude. September's gonna be pretty close. So that is very close. Hopefully, I get some more BattleBit this week. But Mike, you've been going hard this week. I know you got some updates.
My goodness, man, I am so excited. So I guess the biggest one is I finally beat Breath of the Wild. It's pretty cool. It was definitely worth the effort that I put in, right? So I was like, I defeat all the other Divine Beasts. People that have been following like the pod, they know. And I got the Master Sword, and it's like I looked up some techniques, and I was like, dude, Calamity Ganon ain't nothing, and I smashed him. It took like maybe like 4 or 5 tries, I think, because I really didn't understand exactly what I needed to do at first. But then I got him, and then there's like a secondary Ganon boss battle where you're on the horse and you like get help from Zelda, and I'm like, dude, this is so sick.
It's like a
I mean,
phase
like I'm
two. Is it a phase
Oh,
two? Is that what you're saying?
there's technically like 3 phases in a way. It's like when you first see him and then you get him to half health, and then there's another phase, and then there's like a mini phase and a half, like two and a half phase at that point, and then there's like the final phase. So
Okay.
the final phase was intense, and I don't want like the game's been out for a long time, but I still don't want to give spoilers, you know?
Yeah, I feel it.
It I gave it a you've seen my list of games I've completed. I'm like rating them. That got a straight up 10 out of 10 for me easily.
Hey, yeah.
Only 10 out of 10 I got so far in this year that I've beaten. I'm looking at my list right now. Out of 6 games, the closest other one that came was Ori and the Blind Forest. That got a 9 out of 10. And honestly, I kind of want to give it a 9.5. I got that game to 100% completion. It was good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you gonna like I know you're rating them as you go, but are you gonna do like an end of the year review where you go back and like maybe revise some of the scores depending upon the bigger picture?
I never really gave any thought to it. Uh, I never really did. I That's a good question. I'll have to consider it because I made the list to hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
Because like I about a year or so ago, I was getting like in a pretty bad space when it came to AAA studios and titles, and I just had this long laundry list almost of like a to-do list of video games, and I was like, I got to get to these, so let's just write them down. And like I'm kind of a completionist, so I have them all written down, and it says like not started or in progress, and I have the date when it starts and the date when it finishes, and I'm like just trying to mark them all off and then rate them. So an end of year review might be a good idea. Could be like a 5 minute segment just going over games, you
Yeah,
know?
it's true. I need to recap
But
what I've played so far this year at some point, and I can do
that's
maybe
the other
something
thing.
similar.
Uh,
Yeah,
It's easy
do
to
that again.
forget.
Yeah, I know. It's true. Yeah, I'll have
Um,
to go back and do that because I mean, there's a couple that come to mind. Obviously, I mean, Hogwarts
yeah.
Legacy was like probably been my favorite so far this year. So
That's true.
But yeah,
That's a
it's
top game.
yeah. I mean, there's
You
been a
know,
couple. So
the last thing I did on Breath of the Wild was I got 3 main horses. I got, like, the biggest horse you can get, the giant horse that's basically like Ganondorf's horse from the Ocarina of Time, like, the legendary horse. I got Zelda's descendant horse, and I got a horse that's, like, incredibly similar to Epina, who or Epina? I don't know. The original horse for Link,
okay,
and yeah, it's like I got those horses at the very end, and it's basically like, okay, I'm good to go to Tears of the Kingdom because horses carry over to the next game.
yeah,
So
yeah.
pretty
Dude, I
stoked
know.
about
I know
that.
for you that was like a huge thing. You want to try and get as many horses as you could before you went to
All
Tears.
the
So
best ones, at least. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. The last thing I did, man, and I sent you the intro video clip of it. I
Yeah.
don't know if Nick saw it because he's also in the group chat,
I don't
but
know,
Diablo
dude.
4, man, dude, that stuff is tough.
Dude,
Oh my
I
gosh.
literally woke up. I saw the link. I think I was like in bed, like about to get out, like about to get out of
Yeah.
bed. I was just like, okay, like I'll watch this. And so, because I was like, it's Diablo, like it's got to be insane. And so I watched it, and I was like, I did not expect that.
Not
I was like,
expecting that at all,
whoa,
right?
like that is nuts. Like, but it's very like very much Diablo.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm not too familiar with the Diablo franchise. Now I'm like, okay, I gotta go watch some YouTube videos and get a recap. So that's like on the to-do list. Probably after we finish recording, I'm gonna go sit down and eat some food and just be like, okay, somebody summarize Diablo 1, 2, and 3 so I understand this universe a little bit better.
Yeah,
I pretty much caught on fairly quickly at Diablo 4, but it's still understanding the route that they're going, you
yeah.
know?
Dude, I mean, and two, like as the character, like the main character, right? Like I mean, won't give. I mean, I'm not giving the biggest part of that intro away, but like, the character walking through the forest and he's like freezing, and like you're like, dude, you're like, is this guy gonna make it? He like goes to a cave and then wakes up, and then that's the start of the game. It's like that's crazy. Like I wasn't
It's
expecting just to
nutty.
dive in and then like you go out and it looks like Diablo, but it's like, dude, that looked like a triple A. Like this is gonna be some third person insane, like
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
dude.
single player
It looked
game.
like
But
God of War level
yeah,
kind
no,
of action cutscenes.
yeah, no,
It's
like
really cool.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it seems to so far. I mean, it kind of seems like it falls in line with some of the reviews. It was like the cinematics and everything are like top tier, and it's kind of just
Oh yeah.
that they didn't skimp on those at all. So and dude, yeah, but I wasn't expecting that when you sent me. So it was a interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, man. I wasn't even expecting to play it. My buddy sent me like multiple text messages, and I had dinner with him over the weekend. He's like, "Yeah, why aren't you playing Diablo yet?" It's just like, I just don't know anything about it. I want to beat Tears of the Kingdom. I got other stuff I want to like knock out. He's like, "Yeah, you need to play Diablo."
Yeah,
He's based. Then I find out literally today after I've already been playing. You get more XP if you play with groups of friends.
I
And
mean,
I
makes
realized
sense.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, now I see, I see." But it's like that intro, man, when I saw that intro and I watched it, like, late at night, all the lights are off, and I'm watching on, like, a 2K monitor, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is so cool."
Yeah.
It looks
God,
so good.
it looks sick.
Yeah,
It makes you think. Maybe my phone didn't do it justice, but it was still good. So I don't
dude. I
know.
mean, that video I sent you was in 4K recording, so
Yeah,
if you got a 2K, 4K monitor, pop it in, man.
yeah,
So,
sure.
mhm.
Oh,
You know what else is, I guess, popping off is Microsoft and their Xbox Game Pass.
that is very true, Mike. It's very true. Roll in.
Sorry, was there any other
Right.
updates?
No, there was
Should
not.
have asked you.
There was not.
Okay, good.
I'm ready for the main updates of the week, and that is the stories and the news that we cover. And it's starting off. Wait, dude, I kind of started with a heavy hitter, and by heavy hitter I mean Forbes. We're talking Forbes. Like we're talking the company that I feel like doesn't talk about gaming at a very like broad, like if I go to search for articles in the gaming news world, you don't see Forbes often show up in the SEO
You
unless it's
really
like
don't.
a big like
Unless
article.
yeah.
So
Or like
anyways,
Business Insider, I'll see that every now and then.
yeah. Anyways, Paul Tassi, I'll say it like that. So it sounds like senior contributor over at the Forbes. He said it's time for Microsoft to put online multiplayer on all levels of Game Pass. And there's other context to this, right? Because you're thinking, okay, all levels of Game Pass. I know we have like Game Pass for PC, we have console Game Pass, and we have Game Pass Ultimate. That's kind of like the tiers, but there's actually been some changes, and it's covered in this article as well. that Xbox Live Gold is actually going to be discontinued coming, I think, September. And so no more like Xbox Live Gold, no more Games with Gold, that kind of thing. They're also discontinuing that. So end of an era, might I say, because that's like what 10 years that we've had Games with Gold for Xbox subscribers. So yeah, that is no more. Anyways, Paul said, when I heard that Xbox Live Gold was dying on Monday, my first thought was, finally, the concept seemed outdated at this point, and it made sense for Microsoft to consolidate everything under the Game Pass label, which is exactly what they did. They just essentially took Game Pass, created a couple other tiers that you can peruse now. However, it is clear that Microsoft was not changing anything about the online access portion of Gold in the move to Core, nor was it updating console Game Pass either. The problem with Xbox Live Gold has always been that you buy it mainly for the ability to play Xbox games online on your console, but then if you want Game Pass, you have to upgrade to Ultimate for a higher price to get them both. But now, with the nomenclature change, it becomes even more confusing and less logical, and it's time for Microsoft to give this separation up already. With Game Pass Core converting over from Xbox Live Gold, this now means that Xbox Game Pass Core at $10 a month has online multiplayer access with 25 selected games that you can play anytime. Xbox Game Pass Console, which is $11 a month, does not have online multiplayer, and all Game Pass games on console, and includes that as well. Xbox Game Pass PC is $10 a month. It has online multiplayer because you never needed gold for PC, and then all Game Pass games on PC. And then, of course, Ultimate. We all know Ultimate. We preach about it here all the time on the show. You get the online multiplayer access. You get everything on console, PC. You get xCloud. You get EA Plays included in that. I mean, it's a huge value. You know, it was $15, but now it's recently been raised to $17. So yeah, there's also a little graphic that's included to kind of show you everything between the tiers on the article. But you can see the odd man out here, which is Game Pass Console, the only listing that after all this time still does not have the ability to play online. But if you only buy Core, which is formerly Xbox Live Gold, you get the online multiplayer, but not the full Game Pass. The only way to get both is to buy Ultimate, which may come with additional things you don't care about, like PC Cloud or EA Play. Very true. Very, very, very true observation. But I think, I don't know. It's weird if you're a console only player, right, Mike? Because it's like, you want to. I think the biggest thing is being able to play. Most people on console, they need at some point the multiplayer functionality. And so it kind of makes you think, like, if you want the Game Pass library too, it's like you can't have the best of both worlds right now if you're console only. So it's like if you're on PC, but you get I think it's just the ultimate value. And I think, an extra, it's easy for me to be like, okay, I have a PC, so the extra $7 to get everything, including xCloud, where I can play stuff on my phone and whatnot. Like that's a no-brainer for me. But trying to think in terms of like someone who's only on console, yeah, it's an interesting spot that I feel like they're getting placed in. And it makes me wonder how big of a player base is console only at this point,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell because like we do know that the PC player base has definitely expanded a lot just in the last like 10 years alone.
Yeah.
Um, but it, I don't know how to really take it. So it's kind of like getting rid of gold was needed to happen, but you can still get core, and most of the consoles can't really handle more than 25 games anyway. But you do get
Yeah.
online play,
Yeah.
you know? But if you go with this like Xbox Game Pass console only, it's like I don't know, man. The no online multiplayer is pretty rough for console.
Yeah,
They're
I
basically
think it is
encourage
too.
you to do ultimate, right? Because I think more people that would use EA Play, like sports games, even racing games, um, are more likely to use or be on console. So the ultimate would be the one that they're kind of forced into.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. I wouldn't really know how I feel about it if I was strictly console only, It's really tough for people.
Yeah, it really is. The article goes on. So Paul says, while this has always been a problem for Gold's existence, it's even more visible now that they're all under one Game Pass banner. feels like core maybe shouldn't even exist at all, and online is just rolled up into console. While with Ultimate still attractive with all other bonuses, should people want that. Otherwise, these tiers feel illogical in the blatant goal of herding as many people into Ultimate as possible because buying core and console separately makes little sense. I would say no sense, but
Yeah.
this is me.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Um, yeah, it's as though you can get a Euro core for half price, $60 total, making the price essentially the same. But it's like just get Ultimate, you know what I'm saying? Microsoft prides itself on being a good value to consumers, even it comes as potential cost of it with foregone sales of Game Pass titles. But the way the core console Ultimate system is laid out is not pro-consumer in the least, and makes little sense in of course your console needs access to online multiplayer era of video games we've been living in for practically 2 decades.
That's a well, I wouldn't say that long, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean a while, yeah. Um, yeah, it feels like 15. You know what I mean? Like more like 15 maybe.
Yeah,
But
that's what I was gonna say. It
uh,
was like 15 is really where it was like everything has to be online now.
yeah. God, it makes you think too back to, we're coming up on almost 10 years of the whole DRM era where it was like, you had to be console had to be online. You couldn't play anything offline. So
You had to have like a Connect always as well.
yeah, I know. And they had to be connected and yeah. Jeez. It blows my mind we're almost 10 years into that. Anyways. It says they are triple dipping with players playing their ISP to access the internet in the first place. Then you're paying Microsoft to access online multiplayer through Xbox. Then you're paying Microsoft again for Game Pass, which has become a cornerstone of the entire Xbox ecosystem. It's a relic of the past, and it's time to let it die, even if it hurts a little. So yeah, I mean, overall,
That's a good point.
yeah, I don't know. Paul made some good points there. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I've been seeing articles of this, like other articles too, just kind of discussing. I even saw tweets pointing this out of like it's the tiers for Game Pass are just weird now because like you have core, but then but like Paul said, it kind of you have core, you have console, and it's just obvious that especially if Xbox doesn't change it, they definitely want you to just get Ultimate at that point, right? Like they just want to
Yeah.
kind of shoehorn people into Ultimate, which I mean, it's a little backwards, especially with the pro consumer approach that Xbox takes, and I think continues to take with Game Pass and the extreme value that is Ultimate. So it's really weird. I mean, I get it's a business and everything, but it kind of but then again too, with the acquiring Activision Blizzard, it could maybe people see this and they're like, okay, well, is this not what we thought from Microsoft in terms of trying to be pro consumer and all that, and making sure like COD is available everywhere because that's apparently the make or break game. It's a weird time that Xbox kind of announces this on the crux of closing this major deal, right? I don't know. It's weird, Mike. I don't know. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess what they're really losing is honestly they might. So I'm trying to compare this directly to the Xbox Live Gold version, right? So the
Yeah.
Xbox Live version Gold version had essentially the same thing, had online multiplayer access. Uh but the thing that they didn't have was the catalog of 25 high quality games on console. Were there free games with Xbox Live Gold? There probably was.
Oh yeah, you got the games of
I
gold,
think they
right?
even had that with yeah, they even had that with like Xbox 360. So I don't think they really changed anything and it's the same price. I think now they're just trying to like ease Xbox users into the overall like I don't even know what to call it, like the overall ecosystem that is Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Um.
Yeah. It is interesting that they're saying it's like the next one up for the console is like you cannot play online multiplayer, but you get all the Game Pass games.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean,
Yeah. For a dollar more.
yeah.
It's encouraging people to use the ultimate, I think.
I mean, definitely. It's weird too. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I don't know if Xbox is gonna change it. But if they do like allow online multiplayer on the console tier, they're gonna have to restructure everything. I feel like to make it make sense almost. So I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I have a feeling it may stay, but I don't know. Just people much smarter than me probably trying to tier all this out and figure out a way to be a little more pro consumer about it. But yeah, it's definitely a just get ultimate kind of approach. So
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah. From the perspective of Microsoft and Xbox, I can see what they're doing. And I could definitely see why people like consumers who only have Xbox Live Gold would be a little bit annoyed, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Yeah, you know what? The most recent Game Pass game I probably played recently was like the Windows Minecraft version that you actually need like the client for. It's not like the outside. It's not like the outside moddable version, but yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
yeah. But
That's
I mean,
one
that's
that's one letdown though,
yeah.
right? You can't do modded versions of Xbox like Game Pass games, can you?
I mean, I don't know, probably not. I mean, well,
Yeah.
see, I don't know. I mean, maybe with like with some of the Fallout games, there's like heavy modding, so it makes me wonder if they actually
Yeah, it's like
allow.
heavily encouraged too.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it makes me wonder if they actually allow that. I mean, I wouldn't see why not. If you wanted to mod like a Fallout, like an older Fallout or something like that. It's a good question though. I don't know the full details.
Yeah.
Maybe you need the Steam
Side
version.
note, yeah, side note from like the perspective of modding, I think that needs to be encouraged like across the board with modern titles. Because like modding is essentially like free work. If you get stuff that's not like corruptible, like break a game kind of stuff or
Yeah.
like break online integrity in multiplayer games, but stuff that like adds content, like modding and creating new maps, modding and creating like new skins and color formats, stuff like that. Texture packaging and stuff like that.
Are you saying you want
That's really
every?
big in emulation.
Yeah, yeah. So are you saying you want every game to get a Forge mode? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I think the first time I ever side note, first time I ever saw like a forge mode where you can create your own map was in like a BMX game on I think the first Xbox. You can like make a
Dang.
skate park.
I feel
Remember
like
Tony
that's
Hawk? This is like around the same era of Tony Hawk.
yeah. I feel like it's
Uh,
insane for an Xbox game being able to create stuff like that.
yeah,
Dude, that's wild.
it
God,
is.
we're not talking about Xbox in the next one though. I'll be honest. Well, we kind
No,
of
we're
are,
switching it up.
but
We're switching it up. I'm kind of excited about this one. I like talking about PlayStation, even though some people think I just rip on them. So, this is coming from Gaming Bible. This is Richard Lee Breslin, his article, and the title of it is "PlayStation Gamers Heartbroken: Sony Traded Bethesda, Crash, and More Than 10 Years of Call of Duty." Yeah, we'll see.
let us
All right,
set
let's
in,
get into
baby.
it.
Let us
Let's
set
go
in.
into it. Uh, the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard takeover saga may nearly be over, but some fans are left feeling aggrieved. Since 2003, the Call of Duty series has evolved into one of the most commercially successful and popular video game franchises of all time. No doubt, the series was a major reason that Microsoft stumped up 68.7 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard. Does this article? I unfortunately haven't read it yet, but for people that don't know, they are in negotiations again and postponing the official date when that's going to go through.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
just a little bit of context. So, even though Microsoft has reiterated that it intends to keep Call of Duty multi-platform, to extend that to that extent, I'm struggling today, guys. To that extent, that Nintendo was offered a 10-year deal. Sony was concerned that at some point in the future, Microsoft could pull the series from PlayStation and keep it on the green brand. If that was to happen, Microsoft would have a shot itself in the foot. Uh, Jesus. If that was to happen, Microsoft would have shot itself in the foot, especially as it once admitted it wouldn't be profitable to restrict Call of Duty to just Xbox, even if it meant taking away from its most fierce competitor. When Microsoft made the first steps to acquire Activision Blizzard in January 2022, many would have assumed that the takeover would have been completed by now, though we still have a way to go until everything is finalized. The first major roadblock to halt its progression, other than PlayStation boss Jim Ryan throwing spanners into the works, was the FTC and CMA's attempt to block the deal, both of which are the US and UK's market regulators, respectively. We've covered that so many times, it feels
Yep.
like,
Sure
on the
have.
podcast. But recently, I'll give the spark notes to this. Recently, Microsoft went ahead and they won against the FTC, and they have approval to purchase Activision Blizzard. The same thing happened or is going to happen in the UK with the CMA. And essentially, following Microsoft's big win in court, it was revealed by Xbox head honcho Phil Spencer that a binding deal has been signed with PlayStation to ensure that Call of Duty remains on the blue brand. Details on that agreement, such as contract length, remains undisclosed at this time. Initially, the offer was years for however amount of money. What do you think? You
10 years,
think
dude.
from the perspective of PlayStation gamers, do you think it's justified to be upset that they've
Um,
lost exclusivity on some of their brands?
I mean, yeah, I mean, to a I mean, this is the thing. I feel like it's all PlayStation has is their brands. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent,
There's
I'd be a little bit upset about it if I was losing some of my big brands. Um, I mean, granted, they still have all their first party and everything. They still have a lot of first party. And it's what keeps Sony afloat. I feel like because I mean, if they didn't have that, people were playing on Xbox or PC. You know what I mean? It's like there's not really much. And I mean, even then, they're Sony. I mean, which to Sony's credit, they're starting to allow some of the exclusives. It's always like their exclusive first party games are just timed exclusives at this point, so eventually they're gonna show up on PC. But
true.
so I mean that's cool. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I was. I mean, yeah, I as a if I was dedicated to Sony heavily and I didn't have a PC or an Xbox or anything like that, I'd be like, it could mean that those IPs you just would never play again. But it's like it could sway people to invest in a PC. I feel like at this point, especially if you want to continue to try and get as much as you can out of gaming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Um, this article does go on to talk about how, interestingly, there was no mention other than mention of other Activision franchises such as Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Overwatch, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and what's more is there was no mention of Bethesda titles, a company that Microsoft had previously acquired, paying 7.5 billion for its parent company ZeniMax Media, which happened in like 2019, I think, 2018, something like that. Um, Unfortunately, it seems that there is a good reason why only Call of Duty was mentioned in the binding agreement, and that's reportedly due to the deal only including the popular first-person series. So there was a segment which was taken from a Redditor talking about how fans are upset. I'm not really sure how I feel about articles taken from like Reddit and Twitter,
Yeah,
but I
that's
mean,
gaming Bible for you. It's an outlet
yeah,
we don't
I
really
know.
cover, but yeah. But
I
I
know.
mean,
I'll give my take on it, but here it
yeah,
goes. The quote is outlets such as The Verge published Phil Spencer's email to Jim Ryan proposing a 10-year deal to keep all current Activision Blizzard games, COD, Overwatch, Crash, Spyro, and etc. on PlayStation. It was rejected. Now this deal is only for COD. Jim Ryan might have made a big mistake. And then it goes on to say goodbye to those classic Microsoft franchises like Crash, Spyro, Diablo, Overwatch, Tony Hawk. Those aren't in the deal, which is obviously a joke.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Another user on Reddit said, I couldn't care less about COD. I don't play those types of games. Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Dishonored, Doom, and Wolfenstein are the games I would want access to. But looks like that's not going to happen. So,
Got
in
him.
other words, once Microsoft officially acquires Activision Blizzard, you're looking to play games from a publisher other than Call of Duty. It might soon be time to invest in Xbox Series X and S. This is what I. Okay, you go ahead and give your thoughts before I go on a tangent.
Dude, just get an Xbox, man. At this point,
Get a
oh man.
PC on the real.
I mean, yeah.
On the real,
I mean,
though.
yeah. That's like on the real. You can get a pretty decent like
Just get a
mid-level
PC.
machine. It's not that
Yeah.
much money, so yeah, I would
Yeah,
recommend
get
it.
off the couch, buy a cheap foldable chair, get one of those like plastic Walmart little stools,
Yeah.
set up a laptop, set up a cheap monitor or desktop. You'll be fine, dude.
I mean, if it's really that big of an issue, dude, just you can get a PC, get a tower, hook it up to your television. You can either get one of those wireless keyboard and mice, so you can just navigate to select your games, or you can run like Steam Big Picture if you're like want to stay on Steam or something like that, or some controller based client where you can just go through games on your controller and couch games still. I mean, there's ways you
Yeah.
can do it if you really wanted to. But yeah, I mean, I would say eventually get PC. I mean, it seems like the more we talk about this, the more it's like if you're for a lot of people that are like sticking to only like PlayStation or only Sony, we're probably I wouldn't necessarily say we're going to see migrations to other platforms, but we're certainly going to see more people adopting like PC and stuff like that into their ecosystem because
Yeah.
it's just looking like I mean it's looking more and more like it's going to be more relevant to have at the very least a PC if you're a Sony gamer if you're only on PlayStation kind of thing. So yeah, it's gonna be worth it, I think, for people to invest in that.
Yeah, I think this also comes from the mindset of the console wars that happened in basically the late 80s, early 90s, and then it continued on for the longest time. And I know I mentioned with you so many times about how like PlayStation thinks they're still a part of the console wars, but about like 5 years ago when Xbox Game Pass and XCloud started coming out, it was even before 5 years ago. Xbox was just like, we don't care about the console wars anymore. We're gonna just try to push
Yeah.
online gaming and get into like cloud gaming. And now we're the year 2023, and all of everything's gonna start switching to the cloud soon, and everything's gonna be in VR.
I mean,
So
yeah.
it like your consoles are obsolete at this point, or they're going to be. And the whole scare here about how I don't know, the whole scare about like exclusivities only remaining on Xbox, I can only think of like two maybe games, like IPs that are exclusive solely to the Xbox console, and
Yeah.
it's Gears of War and Forza. And even
Yeah.
Forza you can play on PC now, so that doesn't really even count. And
Right.
Gears of
Yeah.
War, I don't think has had a new game in like 50 years.
Yeah. It feels like. Um.
It feels like it, yeah.
I mean. I mean, yeah. What about like Halo?
Halo's on PC. It's on Steam.
I mean, yeah. Is it Forza on PC? Am I trolling? Am I
Yeah,
tripping?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
is
Forza is on PC.
yeah.
Like really here, like what Xbox games are there that are exclusive?
Just Xbox?
Yeah, just Xbox. I can't think of any.
Doesn't
I really
exist, Mike.
can't.
Doesn't
I
exist.
can I can think of like what it was,
Yeah.
but PlayStation has so many. They got like God of War, they got Last of Us. Those are the two probably the biggest ones in the last like 10 years.
Spider
So
Man. Yeah.
Spider-Man's the dude. Spider-Man, like they're holding
Spider Man.
Spider-Man and they're upset.
It's crazy, bro.
Bro, I will trade Overwatch today for Spider-Man.
Same.
Like, come on, man.
I would too. Not gonna lie. Um.
I would trade a lot of them,
Yeah.
but
I would
I,
say another IP's Days Gone, but people messed it up, and now we're not getting Days Gone too. So I'm upset about
that's
it.
true. Yeah. Here, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Xbox only IP. Wait, I guess Xbox only games
Solely to the console that is the
solely to the
Xbox.
console. This is from Games Radar. It came out in 2023. I'll go real quick about this because this is like a side note from our. We got a couple more articles, so I'll try to be quick. These are the best Xbox One and Xbox Series X exclusives for you to dive right into, especially via Game Pass. All right, let me go to number one. Okay. Number one is Sea of Thieves. Not true. You can play it on PC.
Not a true
Okay.
console exclusive.
Yep. Psychonauts 2. I'm pretty
You
sure
can
that
play it
is
on PC,
also.
baby.
Yep.
Let's go.
Grounded. You could play that in the cloud.
Play it. Yeah, you can XCloud. Yeah, I can play it on my
Yeah.
TV. You know what I'm saying?
But I do think that one might be a console only, right?
That
Or
one's on
can you
PC.
play it
I
on
played it on
PC?
PC. I played the beta on PC.
Okay. Forza Horizon 5 you can play on PC. Gears 5 you can play on PC. Halo Infinite you can play on Steam. And like PC obviously. Uh, Same thing with Forza Motorsport 7, Sunset Overdrive. That one might be exclusive.
I played that
But
on PC too, buddy. Hate to break it to you.
it is on PC.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like what we're getting here is like get a PlayStation and then get PC and then get the last article that we literally just covered about the Game Pass. $10 a month, PC Game Pass, hundreds of high quality games on PC, new games on day one, member deals and discounts, and EA Play membership.
ladies and gentlemen, I may eat my
Why do I have a
words.
console?
I may eat my words by saying this, but I'm just saying, Starfield, it's on Game Pass. So
It
if it's
is,
actually
yeah, man.
good, then they'll make up for the value right there.
Yeah,
So
I think what the article is failing to mention is Microsoft doesn't care about exclusivities anymore. I understand some people might say like, "Oh, well, you need the Xbox app on the PC to get it to work." But it's like, dude, it's just a web browser almost. It's like a game launcher. You're still
yeah,
using all your original hardware to make it work. Um,
dude, just get a PC, man.
it really is at that point.
Listen to me. Get a PC.
Get a PS5 and a PC. You get all the
Yeah,
best exclusive
like
that are solely on the PS5.
this is
And
this is gonna be my tech stack for gaming. It's literally gonna be PC, PS5. That's all you need. Maybe a
It
Switch.
really is.
I will say a Switch. You could throw that in because like there's a lot
The
of
new Switch.
yeah.
Whenever it comes out.
Whenever Switch 2 comes out. But like no, I
Yeah.
mean really all you need is like Nintendo's console, Sony's console, and then a PC, and then you have everything. You have all the major
I'll be real with you.
things.
And here's the cool thing that some people don't know. You don't need an Xbox controller to play on PC. I was literally playing Halo Master Chief Collection with this.
With the PS5 controller, man doesn't
The
even own a
PS5
PS5
Edge controller, dude. It was sick. So much fun. Playing Halo 3 and Halo 2 with that. Like, come on,
Some would
dude.
say it's sacrilegious, but some would say it's genius.
It's totally genius. PlayStation just builds better controllers. I had to explain that to my buddy that recently bought the Series S. He's like, my controller keeps disconnecting. I'm like, because it's ass.
It's because it's
Just
Xbox.
being-
Xbox is focused on Game Pass, not hardware.
Yeah, man. Seriously. All right, well,
That's funny.
that's all I got for the article.
Oh man. Speaking of hardware, though, it's a good transition to the next article.
No kidding.
Because we are talking about some more
Steam.
regulation from the EU that could be influencing the way hardware is made.
This is good for the consumer, though. This is
Very
actually
good.
like pretty exciting.
Yeah, very good. This applies to the Steam Deck, the Rogue Ally, even the Switch. Could see some rippling effects from this. Pretty much anything with a battery, I think, is pretty much subject to any electronic with a battery at this point. It's kind of subject to it.
So excited.
But yeah, and this is a Windows Central. It's an article from Rebecca Spear, Windows Central. It's it's like a little bit opinionated, but I agree with it. So
So we're gonna treat it like facts.
So yeah, it's facts. It's a frustrating but true fact that we've all experienced with our phones, laptops, gaming handhelds, and other electronics. Batteries degrade over time, making it so that eventually it cannot hold as much power or last as long. As many of us have experienced, my well-loved Steam Deck, sometimes I wish I had a Steam Deck, my
Same, honestly.
the Steam Deck, so Rebecca's Steam Deck already doesn't have the best battery life, which is why she's sure she'll eventually have to replace the battery the minute it degrades to a horrible degree. This might be a whole lot sooner than later. And she said, I'm not looking forward to this, as the process of removing the battery is unreasonably difficult, which is illustrated in the some of the photos below. But yeah, it's no walk in the park to replace a lithium-ion battery that is stored in the Steam Deck, and that just goes for any mobile device. But thanks to some new battery regulation passed in the EU, it looks like Valve will be forced to manufacture new versions of the Steam Deck that feature replaceable batteries, even though it had no problems of releasing a new version anytime, or had no plans of releasing a new version anytime soon. I cannot even tell you how excited I am about this. I'm right there with you, Rebecca. I'm pretty excited. For one thing, having a Steam Deck designed with a replaceable battery gives more control over other game devices. It's so weird, like having to read this in like third person and
somebody else's
It's like I'm trying to
their first person point of view.
I'm trying to meld it into kind of a third person thing as I go.
I think you're doing well though.
Yeah, and so it ensures that that people will actually be able to fix their handhelds without accidentally breaking it, which I think is certainly if you're taking apart a Steam Deck, yeah, it's I don't know, just looking at the photo in the article, it's this is it's
looks like a pain, dude.
Yeah, it does. I mean, looking at this too, it's it's interesting for me because like I said, I think I got into a hobby, a few months back where I was like just taking apart electronics and stuff. It's cool to see, and it makes, I think if there was one thing I've like learned from it so far, it's kind of like yeah, there's something, especially in newer devices, it's more difficult. But just seeing like there's things aren't necessarily as fragile as you may think. So and the way of actually cleaning electronics is a lot easier than you think as well. So you're trying to get into it. It's
that is so ironic. By the way, for the people that are just listening and like you're new to the show, this man didn't clean his PC for over 2 years and it was bottlenecking. So the fact that you're saying it's so much easier to like clean your electronics coming from you, I got to roast. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'll
take an opportunity.
I'll take it. I'm like that. I don't remember the last time I cleaned the dust on my PC, Mike. I'll be honest. I'm saying I might
gotta be real.
I took off that front panel. It'll be just caked.
I'll pull mine off maybe at the end of the at the end of the episode. I haven't cleaned it in a while. I've noticed the dust piling up.
If you do it, I'll do it, dude. I'm take all the filter. You do.
All right, fair enough.
For savvy Steam Deck fans, replacing the SSD and the fans has already been a popular hobby to improve the performance of the handheld. However, the act of replacing the battery has notoriously become a frustrating undertaking due to the amount of unnecessary work it takes. You see, the Steam Deck battery is tightly nestled between other components and is so strongly glued into place that it takes a long, patience filled time to carefully pry up the adhesive and get it out. As such, it's very easy to get frustrated and damage the battery and the other components around it, even if you're using the proper prying tools. It's tempting to want to use heating to loosen the glue, but that can also prove to be extremely dangerous since damaging the Steam Deck battery can lead to swelling and not fitting properly, or even worse, catching fire later on. This made me hope that a newer version of the Steam Deck would make the battery easier to remove, but that didn't seem likely to happen in the near future. Just earlier this year, web designer Lawrence Yang and engineer Pierre Loup. I was gonna say Pierre Loupe, but that's Pierre Loup. I was like, I was gonna say
Graphis?
Graphias, but
Graphias? No, no,
like
no.
gracias.
Pretty.
Uh,
I'm pretty sure that's a French last name.
Graphies. Yeah, I don't know. He explained in an interview that Valve didn't have plans to release a new Steam Deck model anytime soon. Quote, a true next gen deck with a significant bump in horsepower wouldn't be for a few years. Fortunately for my battery desires, things are a changing, as they say. This new EU battery regulation will require Valve to start making a new version with a replaceable battery at least. For further information, the Council of the EU's regulation on new batteries and waste batteries makes it so any company hoping to sell devices in the EU, including Valve, will have to make it possible for consumers to replace their own batteries in devices by 2027. So we have, a few years before it's kind of in full effect. And I know most recently, and something that's going to affect by the end of this year, is a lot of companies are having to take their devices, particularly Apple, I'm calling out here, for using proprietary Lightning on their devices. EU regulation passed years ago, and now it's getting to a point where by the end of this year, all devices being sold in the EU require that you utilize USB-C as your preferred charging port, and kind of making it one unified thing, which I am. I mean, dude,
I'm stoked.
not only was Lightning just like annoying, but dude, the data transfer rates on a Lightning cable are trash because it was developed way like before the latest advancements USB technology kind of took off. And so yeah, data transfer rates were terrible. And like if you're shooting like ProRes video on an iPhone, I mean this is like ProRes like cinema camera grade footage. I mean the files were monsters, and trying to export that off an iPhone was a nightmare because you just had limited throughput. I could go on and on, but this is an example of the EU doing something, trying to help not only the consumers and their market, but also in turn helping the world because, you got to sell devices in the EU.
That's the truth. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the EU. I think more than the US, to be honest, collectively.
It's a huge
Um,
market for sure.
Definitely.
Um,
This is good. I'm pretty excited, man, because it's like this isn't only going to apply to the Steam Deck. It's going to apply to the Rogue Ally, the Nintendo Switch.
yeah,
There's a couple other ones that we covered, if I can remember. I can't remember. Logitech was making one too. The
yeah, the G
right
Cloud.
low. The
It was a G
yeah,
Cloud. Yeah.
yeah. I was trying to remember. I was like, there's definitely another one.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, dude, it's gonna be interesting for phones, right? I mean, just think
yeah,
about it,
that's
like
the biggest
phones.
one.
I mean, phones are definitely gonna be affected too. So it's one of those things. I mean, I will say, the EU. It's interesting how the EU kind of gives grace to it. So it's kind of like, if you're making these new
Oh
devices,
yeah,
okay, you
getting
have a few
prepared.
years. Like, it's not just going to be, we're just going to enact this by the end of the year. So you have time to adjust to it, which is, definitely needed, I think, for probably tech companies. But that also means that they're going to find every single possible way that they could delay having to make this change until the very last, like, second. So and I think that's
Yeah,
kind of what we're seeing, with, I mean, it's kind of what we see with Apple and all those companies. Like they're not making this change until the and it's going to be the newest model phone that comes out in September is going to be it's probably going to have USB-C now. So they kind of waited till the last minute, but I mean, it's kind of the way it is, and I'm sure it's a huge undertaking and for some companies, but I think overall it's yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be good. It's seeing one thing I'm always jealous of when it comes to like Android phones or anything like that is like a lot of the older models had just replaceable batteries. So
oh
if your
yeah.
battery ballooned, you could just get a new one. So yeah, I
Balloon.
mean, dude, yeah,
Yeah.
they get dangerous, man.
If
They
uh,
get dangerous.
they don't really balloon anymore, but they do definitely degrade a little bit. It's like they degrade. There's two problems that happens with the mobile phones. Is one, they degrade over time, so they just start losing their charge.
Yeah.
Two, every time they do like a new service update to make the game more efficient, every single one of these like developers know that your battery is degrading over time, and they probably have like some type of like graph chart or something about like how old your phone is based on the degrade time, because there is a yield property that's like the battery life will degrade. Um, and make it less likely to have like a stronger, fuller charge for longer periods of time.
Right. Yeah.
But they'll take that into account. They can either say, okay, well, do we lower the power and the efficiency of that device so the battery lasts longer, or do we keep doing what we're doing, make sure that you still get the same amount of power, and then like further degrading, further making it so like your phone dies pretty quickly. It's like my phone now is about 6 years old, coming up on six, I think. It's pretty old. Like
Yeah.
I'll say 4.5 because I like adding a year every now and then. So 4.5 going on 5, and that guy can't hold a full charge for like longer than 7 hours. Which tells me it's like if I go out of town and I don't have a charge, my phone's dead
I
unless
mean,
I
yeah.
switch everything off. You know?
Man, dude, yeah, it's like that with whole electronics. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, definitely degrades over time. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it was funny seeing companies that like intentionally degraded the battery because it was kind of like they,
Apple.
yeah, I mean, Apple, like they were arguing the point that they either had to like take away like either like degrade the battery or the CPU or something like that. They couldn't like have both, which is really weird. And
Right.
it just ended up being a whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Didn't make a whole lot of sense.
yeah, definitely didn't. Um,
Uh,
I mean, yeah, the article continues to go on a little bit. It says, of course, this means that Valve will need to start manufacturing new versions of the Steam Deck that come with intentionally replaceable batteries, thus removing the frustrating hassle we currently deal with. Uh, I expect Rebecca expects that the new Steam Deck will be much like what the Switch OLED was, the Nintendo Switch, where most of the components were exactly the same. Um, say one or two semi-big changes. As Jagan previously told us, the next gen deck likely won't release for another few years yet. This regulation will require the same replacement batteries rules for Nintendo Switch, Asus ROG Ally, and virtually any other device with the battery as well, since it applies to all waste portable batteries, electric vehicle batteries, industrial batteries, starting, lighting, and ignition batteries. Used mostly on vehicles and machinery, and batteries for light means of transportation, whether it's e-bikes, mopeds, e-scooters. Now, it's possible that Valve would only make this change to the Steam Deck units headed to the EU markets. However, I would also agree with Becky here and say that it's probably not going to happen. If anything, it's like just make it for everybody. It's such a hassle to like have different versions for different regions, and I feel like that's kind of just more trouble than it's worth.
yeah,
And
it's pretty tough.
just release for everyone at that point. Um, hmm. But yeah, some of these third-party Steam Deck batteries, yeah, I mean, this will give retailers, this is going to give many retailers to probably release third-party batteries as well. Some of these third-party Steam Deck batteries might even be far more powerful than the Valve makes itself, which is a happy thought indeed. Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like you like components like this where it's like replaceable and you can and there may not necessarily be like a major patent on it. Then all these companies can try and make their own versions. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know. This just reminds me of like storage and like Xbox's proprietary like like
Dude, that's
Series
so
X storage, like with Seagate and whatnot.
predatory.
It's so
Yeah.
funny, man. The fact that that's even a thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you could put. I think you can like replace the SSD in like a PlayStation pretty easily, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that, like a PS5.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you might be able to. I mean, technically, you can switch up and use a USB. I mean, I was doing it on the Xbox Series X, using a USB for all my games that I was emulating.
yeah,
I never really tried it with like the new titles because I definitely know that's illegal, but I'm sure there's a workaround somewhere.
yeah, sure there is.
In the end, it's just all computer programming. There
Yeah,
are ways to break things.
yeah. As a programmer, I fully aware, so I totally get that. Um, but yeah, I mean, your batteries will soon be replaceable, Mike. I think is the best way to sum up this article. Um, yeah, we're gonna see a huge wave of more control to the consumer, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you, EU. Very cool.
I'm very excited, man, because I did have a little bit of a thought of like, well, they're just gonna make crappier batteries so people just buy new ones more and more frequently, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But then the comment about, well, there might be some third party sellers that will make better batteries that last longer. It's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Which I feel like is always the case for a lot of these electronics.
Oh
Especially
yeah,
for like
definitely.
phone cables and stuff. Like the default
Phone cables are
standard
the big
like
one.
charging cable you get with
Trash.
your phone is like always trash, and then you get like actual good ones. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
but
threaded. That's the
yeah,
way to go.
dude. I'll
The
say right now,
threaded
dude. If
and
you
lights up. Look at this.
yeah,
Lights
dude.
up.
I'm a proponent. If you ever need like a phone charging cable, dude, always look at Anchor. They make good Lightning,
Yes, they
USB
do.
C,
Oh
like
yeah,
micro USB. I mean, it's all fantastic. I love Anchor, so I don't know.
that's a good point.
You know, obviously we're not sponsored, but you know, so I'm saying, you know, we ever want a cable
I mean, if they
sponsor,
want,
you know, hey, hit us
I
up,
mean, if
Anchor.
they want to.
Rad. I don't know. There's games coming out though, Mike, and I don't know how this next article got me feeling. I'll say that.
Uh, I hope you're feeling good about it at least. Well,
That's what I'm saying. I
first of
don't.
all, it's coming from like one of our main kind of sources, which I don't know how to really feel about that. Just seems to be they have like the most articles that we can commentate on. I think they're usually opinionated, you know,
Yeah, very much
clickbaity
so.
almost. That definitely gets us. So this is from Kotaku. It is by Zach Zwiesen. Zwiesen. That's what it is.
Horizon.
It's about Star Wars Outlaws. So apparently the planets will be as big as entire Assassin's Creed games. Dude, that is a
So what? What'd you
huge
say, Mike?
promise.
What'd you say?
Oh, did I break up? Should I repeat myself? Or are you
No,
actually
I'm just
like
wondering
there's
what.
no way?
I'm baffled. You know, that's what I'm saying. There's no
We've
way.
heard promises like this before. Big name brands or companies coming out and saying, we're going to build the biggest game possible for like just to be the biggest like map possible. So, anyways, the undertitle, the subtitle is all of the planets in Ubisoft's upcoming open world Star Wars game are handcrafted and not procedurally generated. Sheesh.
Interesting. See, okay. I'm
This has
not
come
gonna
from a
lie.
studio, mind
See,
you. This has come from a studio that laid off like everybody.
um,
So,
and then, you know, the last presentation that they had, this was a huge proponent in banking, and they're probably banking. I mean, they're
they're
throwing the
definitely banking
kitchen
on this
sink of
game.
this game, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Every studio is touching one aspect of it. So, yeah. But I mean, I will say I didn't read the subtext or the subtitle, and I mean the fact that it's handcrafted, not procedurally generated. You know, I mean, procedurally generated is cool and all, but I think there's definitely. I mean, if you're handcrafting these worlds, I mean, yeah, people can get lazy with it, but like handcrafted's got me excited because it could be more unique. So
Oh, definitely. They got to start off at like a base point. There's got to be something that's like procedurally generated, like
yeah,
some templates, and then they go into like editing it. You know,
mhm.
Something is like a sphere.
I mean,
And then just go from there.
yeah, I mean, there's assets obviously I think they're gonna use, but like
Yeah,
reviews and
thank you.
whatnot.
That's the
But
word, assets. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Shall we get into it? This is basically coming from the perspective of Zach. So I'm just going to read it as is because I'm not as smart as Kyle. I don't know how to change point of views that well. So he goes, I think everybody expected Ubisoft's upcoming open world Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws, to be huge. That's been the case with most of the publishers' recent open world games, but the developers behind Outlaws recently confirmed just how big it might be, explaining that planets in the game will be as big as multiple regions in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which notably is one of the biggest games they've ever made, isn't it?
well, it's second because Valhalla was
Yeah, that's right.
60 plus hours, I think.
Oh my
Odyssey,
gosh,
I think
dude.
Odyssey was like 30. Mind you, this is just completing the game. This is a completionist. This is like a base game, like 60 hours, dude. Like,
It's
bro, hey,
insane.
maybe it was 40 for Odyssey. It was a lot. I think Origins was like 20 or 30. I mean, it just kept getting bigger and it ballooned to 60 in Valhalla, which is like, God.
Bro, do you know we're gonna need so many M.2 SSD drives that are like high capacity now. If
I
these
mean, yeah,
games just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Storage is like the next crisis in gaming.
dude, file compression. I mean, I will give Fallout. Fallout 4 was a huge game, and I will give it credit. I think it was
Yeah,
like 25 gigs. It was pretty small. So
that's true. That's very true. I haven't even checked how big Diablo was. I'm pretty sure it was around like 100. but that's not what we're here for. Let's get into it. So, continuing on with the article, in June, after rumors and teases, Ubisoft and in-house developers, Massive Entertainment, finally revealed its Star Wars Outlaws, an open-world game set in that famous galaxy far, far away. In Outlaws, which takes place between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi, you'll play as the scoundrel and thief Kay Vess. And because this is a Star Wars, a franchise built on found family and ragtag groups coming together, you won't be alone. You'll have a cute alien sidekick, and according to the internet, oddly sexy droid partner. Oddly sexy.
I
Jeez.
love how you say according to the internet. This isn't my take. I'm just fabulous.
Yeah. So, while we still don't know what the game's actual narrative is, nor what you'll be doing precisely, we do know that the galaxy is Outlaws is going to be very, very big, although not stupidly big. In an interview with Edge magazine, Outlaws creative director Julian G. Wrightley compared the size of the game's handcrafted planets with areas in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, another Ubisoft open world blockbuster. And let's go ahead and quote G. Wrightley. It's a crude analogy, but the size of one planet might be equivalent to two of the zones in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It could be 2 to 3 zones, but it's not this sort of epic, the whole of England recreated approach.
So what he's saying is there's not as much detail in these big giant
No,
creations, but they're
it
big.
doesn't sound like it. I wonder if they're like desert planets or like forest planets and just massive gaps between stories or between cities and towns,
It's
you
like the
know?
most basic scenery you can recreate, just copy pasted over
Oh, that would,
over a zone.
uh, I mean,
Uh,
then we can say they're a lion, you know?
I know. That's what I'm saying,
Tell the
dude.
truth.
Dude, I just hate that Ubisoft games in particular. It's just like I just it's you know there's Bethesda games, Mike, grain of salt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there's Ubisoft games where it's
I know where you're going
grains
with
of
this.
salt. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole shaker, dog. Like it's just oh man. Until I see it, it's it can be
Yeah,
deceiving.
it's a fact, actually. All right. Let's continue on. So now, depending on which zones you're referring to, this could mean the planets the Star Wars Outlaws are pretty big, or even incredibly enormous. Enormous. As
Enormous.
some regions in Odyssey were small islands, while others were giant chunks of ancient Greece. Based on what you rightly told Edge, even a modest estimation would likely mean some planets in Star Wars Outlaws are multiple times bigger than entire Assassin's Creed games like Syndicate or Unity.
Yes. I mean Syndicate and Unity were smaller games, so I mean it makes sense.
Yeah, but they're still freaking huge.
I mean
Oh,
yeah.
this actually has a video comparison of all the different map sizes and how big it actually
Oh, an
gets.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, for context. A
I'm
lot of people
I'm
have
gonna have
like
to
never
to
played
watch it.
Assassin's Creed before.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Dude,
good
this
on you
is
showing it.
sick. What? I
You've
I
never
love
seen
seeing
these
things like
before?
this. I I haven't seen the Assassin's Creed one. I've oftentimes looked up what is the biggest world, like biggest open world in a video game. And
Is it a
yeah.
Minecraft?
Yeah, Minecraft. I mean it's definitely Minecraft. It's like I
Yeah.
mean it's exponential, but um I mean not excluding Minecraft, I want to say like I mean I think Witcher 3 might have been pretty big. Um Obviously the Assassin's Creed games are on that list for just being huge. I mean, looking at, I mean, dude, like this is rogue,
That's
dude.
it.
Like
The entirety of Greece.
that's Origins. Assassin's Creed, dude. 80 kilometers squared. Is that what that is? 80 kilometers. I don't even know
Jesus,
what that
man.
is. Um,
It's a lot.
yeah, and
It's
then
like 160 miles or more.
Odyssey's 130, and then oh yeah, Black Flag. That was the ocean. That's because Black Flag was
Black
the Caribbean.
Black Flag was
Like,
freaking mental how big it
yeah,
was.
yeah, Black
I always
Flag.
thought Black Flag was the biggest, right? Or are they saying
I think they are saying
okay?
it's the biggest. Yeah. Like Black Flag got.
Well,
I
then
mean,
the
yeah, it's because it's the ocean,
yeah,
dude. Like it's huge. Yeah,
it's the
it's
whole of the
Odyssey.
Caribbean. It's like
I mean,
it's
yeah, it's
full.
like the entirety of the Caribbean. Actually, I'm honestly curious. Like, I'm sure assuming this video was made, yeah, 5 years ago. So yeah, this is way
Okay,
before
yeah,
Valhalla.
yeah.
Because I don't know how big Valhalla is, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, dude, Assassin's Creed World's pretty big, Mike. You know what I'm saying? So when they're saying Outlaws is it gives you the perspective of Syndicate and whatnot. Yeah, I can imagine it's gonna be a huge game. This is the thing. I'm both scared and excited that there's so many studios involved. Mostly scared, admittedly, but I think it'll be interesting to see how big this game actually is, especially when you got this many people working on it. And it's kind of like, this is our studio needs to stay afloat game, so or our publishing company
Very
needs to stay
true.
afloat game. So it has
And
it. I will say this has to be good. Not saying it's going to be, but I'm saying I feel like it has to be if you know if if Ubisoft wants to kind of maintain relevancy. Um, but you know what they could do to maintain relevancy, Mike?
uh, yeah, Splinter Cell, probably.
You literally, I was literally was gonna say, bring back
Splinter
Splinter Cell,
Cell,
bro.
please.
Like Splinter Cell, please. Like I'd love to play another Splinter Cell game. So yeah, I mean, for me at least, I think it'd be a way to kind of bring back an old franchise that people have been wanting a new installment for. I know we're not gonna get the OG Sam Fisher voice. It's probably not gonna
No, but
happen,
I
but get something
mean,
close. You know what I'm saying? It can there's people that sound
do
just
like
like
a
it.
spiritual successor with like a different character entirely, but call it Splinter Cell. Like it's the new Academy coming in,
Yeah,
like
or
a
something like that.
passing of the torch. Have Sam Fisher's character be the new teacher for the next Splinter Cell,
Yeah.
like Spy.
Like
You know?
like Sam Fisher was an iconic voice, but yeah, I mean, you could do a reboot where you have someone else who has that like kind of mystical like demeanor and is not very like
Yes.
is not very out there. Because I think if you put someone in there, it's like bombastic. It's and like just like zany. I guess is the best way to describe it. It probably just wouldn't be
Yeah.
wouldn't be that good. But I don't know, dude. That like Ubisoft if they did that, man. Um, as long as it's as long as it's a banger, dude. I'm playing it. So anyway, man. I mean, Outlaws is a yeah. There's a lot of banking on this game, Mike. I'm gonna say, and when you're saying the world's this big, it's like all right. But I mean, I got the salt shaker right here representing how much I have going into this game. So we'll see, Mike. Out of the space stuff looked pretty cool though. We saw like the space travel and whatnot, like the ships and
Right.
everything. So
It does. Like all the gameplay that we've seen of Star Wars Outlaws looks really good. I just don't know whether I think you know what I think they will have some success because Star Wars is such a massive IP. And this I can't remember what was the other game Star Wars game that came out that wasn't done by EA. I think this might be the first one, right? First one in a long time because all the other ones are
yeah,
EA.
long time. Yeah,
Yeah, so EA doesn't have the exclusivity anymore, which means that we finally get to see another studio take a crack at it. And like you said, they can't mess up. And
yeah,
obviously, they're trying not to mess up when it comes to sales because why else would you go out and say like this is gonna be the biggest game you've ever played in Star Wars? You know,
yeah. It's true.
um, so there's a lot of hype now. I hope they can deliver.
Yeah, hopefully, dude. It's one of those things like I don't know, I get scared for game links from Ubisoft now, especially after Valhalla. It's like if they see this thing,
Yeah.
like you think if they went out and made an 80-hour minimum, you gotta what it takes to beat the game, 80 hours. Do you think people would be into that or not into that?
Uh, it's hard to say, right? Because it's like Elden Ring was a long time too, wasn't it? But that was
Elden Ring, yeah.
like, wasn't that like 80 hours too?
I
How long
don't
did
remember.
Elden Ring take? A
I don't
long
remember the
time.
whole thing. I don't remember. I have the internet. Hold on, but I mean I know
All
it's
right.
like a big game, so it's kind of like um
Like how to
time
become the
to
Elden Ring.
beat 57 and a half
57.
hours. Oh, you're
Okay, so it's not
rolling.
that big, but it's like think about this: The
It's a
Witcher
big game
3
though.
Wild Hunt, which recently got an update, by the way, for anybody that still plays that game,
Did it
or
actually?
is thinking about getting back to it. It
Nice.
recently got an update. There's patch notes online. That
51
game
hours.
only
56 for
51. I
the
thought it
game of
was
the
longer
year.
than that.
56 for
Yeah.
game of the year. 126 if you want to complete side quests too.
Holy crap! So you're saying
Dude,
80 hours? Oh,
I mean,
I don't know,
I
man.
mean,
I don't know. Like that's a long time.
dude,
I think that's a
I
very
mean,
specified number of people. How
yeah,
many is
I think so.
that Assassin's Creed game?
Valhalla is 60 and
Valhalla.
a half for the main story. Just the main
Dude,
story.
I the complaint that I've heard from people that have played these games is when it gets above like 55, they just start seeing repetitive
See, that's the
tasks
thing.
that don't really matter to the overall arc,
It,
but you have to do it because it's the main story and it looks good on paper when they have a
yeah,
big
and
number.
see, the thing is, I know this is kind of we're getting into like game design at this point, but I know you're very much aware of this. If you are going to make a game that is that long, you have to make the repetitive actions in the game rewarding to a point where it stays rewarding. right? Like if you're gonna
Oh
make a
yeah.
game that long, there has to be a lot of aspects done right in order to keep the player engaged at hour 40, 50, 60. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like the repetitive nature has to be, there has to be like juice there that that is still good after all that time. So it's one of those, like I think it takes lightning in a bottle almost to make a game that long that a lot of people will play and very
Yeah.
much enjoy. I mean, that's the thing. Think about like MMOs, right? Like if you're making an MMO, you have to make that, you have to make like the skilling or whatever you're doing fun for long periods of time. So, and you know, especially recently, it's kind of like the MMO genre is kind of like, I feel like almost faded. I mean, obviously there's like Diablo, but I don't know if that's not really technically an MMO, right? It's kind of just like just I mean, it's co-op
Yeah.
and everything, but yeah, I mean, it's things like a RuneScape. It's kind of why it's, you know, it's only diehards at this point, like diehards at this point, because you know those type of MMOs. I feel like I don't know, because and you see so many people that are like, you know, they want to play those style of games, and they're like, dude, if a good one comes out, dude, I'm gonna be synced in, dude. I ain't doing anything else. But it's like, I don't know. I almost, you know, I hope I'm proven wrong, but I almost feel like we're past that, and we're not gonna get an insane MMO that consumes everyone like WoW or anything like that. Um,
No,
so
I think WoWs are kind of been falling off for a while now, and same thing with like RTS games. It's really unfortunate, but that's kind of the truth. There hasn't been
yeah,
a big MMO to come out in a while. Hasn't really been a successful RTS to come out in a while.
there hasn't, dude. But will Star Wars be the game if it's a long one? Star Wars Outlaws, will it be the game that draws a crowd and gets Ubisoft back in good graces?
I think it's going to sell for sure.
Yeah,
Um, Regardless of, this is going to be one of those games that people are definitely pre-ordering.
yeah,
So
probably. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I definitely want to see reviews and everything, see if it's actually decent. I think overall it comes down to, it is like a Ubisoft kind of open world game. So, obviously, I think most people, including myself, have you know apprehensions going into a game like that, especially when it's Ubisoft. So it'll come
yeah.
down to reviews, and I don't know if it's one of those things everyone's praising it and whatnot. I may jump in, but or it could just be like Elden Ring, where it's like I'm glad it's great, but like it's just not my kind of game, kind of, at least like not right now. You know, I think one day someone like me is gonna like pick up Dark Souls, and then I'm just sunk into the whole series, and that's all I'm gonna play for
Yeah,
like
that's
months.
over.
I feel like it's gonna hit me one day, but it just hasn't yet. So one day when I'm just like, I really just have nothing else to do, it's gonna be like, all right, well here we go, trying out
Yeah,
the Souls universe.
I think we're gonna get a better understanding of what Star Wars Outlaws can become after Starfield comes out,
Yeah,
because Starfield is gonna come out pretty soon here, and that's like a space odyssey. It's not Star Wars because that's like a whole opera, right? That's something insane.
yeah,
But it gives us an intro into what space simulators can be like, and it depends on what kind of game Outlaws is going to be. Are they concentrating on the planets? Do they want to have this kind of like exploration space simulator, or are they going to concentrate on overall arc, like overall story that Assassin's Creed's like? You
yeah,
know, because like they put you in the universe and they want you to have fun, but they really want you to pay attention to the story during it.
no, it's true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it too, like in terms of Starfield, it's like I really want to try and go to that game with no expectations, because I feel like, especially the past couple RPGs I played, it's like I think part of me has been wanting it to be like the initial experience I had with RPGs when I was like playing Fallout initially. Like
Yeah.
I think I get slightly disappointed because I don't have that nostalgia. I need to like switch my brain off and just be like, all right,
You really got to figure out.
just enjoy the
Yeah.
game for what it is, kind of thing. Um, yeah, and so definitely for Starfield, I'm gonna go into it with no expectations, and you know, rightfully so, especially with the way Bethesda's been. But yeah, I don't know. It's a game I'm looking forward to, and the fact that it's on Game Pass, it's like I don't know. I I won't say yet, but I don't want to commit the cardinal sin of pre-ordering the game just to get it 5 days early. But I don't know. I don't know, Mike. Depending on how the reviews go, I might have to break that rule. I don't know yet.
If the reviews are good and you see gameplay on stream, I'm not going to give you a hard time. But if the reviews are bad and you don't see anything, I'm
It
gonna
ain't.
roast you.
It ain't happening. It's gonna weigh heavily on reviews because I mean
Oh yeah,
I think there's definitely gonna be review copies going out middle of next month, and then we'll start hearing stuff,
yeah,
and it's certainly before the actual pre-order window starts. We'll hopefully have like decent reviews out there so we can make a nice good judgment call. But that's what I'll be looking for with Outlaws as well. Star Wars Outlaws. So we'll see. I'll see how
yes
these things
sir.
go. All right, we have one more article, Mike, and this is actually kind of a
This
quick one. I know we're like way over at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point, but um,
We definitely are, but yeah, this is definitely one of those quick ones where it's
but
just
I just
like
think it's kind of interesting. That's why I just threw it in. But yeah, so this comes from TechSpot. Rob Thruborn, like Torbjorn. I don't know. I'm not saying, but Rob from TechSpot. He wrote an article that said mastermind behind the Uber hack and GTA 6 leaks was declared unfit for trial. Um, it was mid-September of last year, 2022, when the Uber announced it was investigating a cybersecurity incident that compromised many of its internal systems, giving the hacker, who said he was just 18 years old, almost complete access to the company's network. The breach was said to be worse than the 2016 hack that exposed the details of over 57 million Uber customers. While that incident brought quite a bit of attention, it was nothing compared to what happened next. The same hacker that compromised Uber's network leaked a swath of content for what is arguably the most anticipated game ever, GTA 6. It's included test build videos and screenshots, most of which were removed after Take-Two issued copyright strikes against the hosts. He also attempted to negotiate a deal with Rockstar, asking for a 5-figure sum in return for not leaking its in-game's source code. It was only a couple days later that the City of London police arrested the alleged hacker. I'm not even going to say his name. I ain't going to give him attention. I don't even know how to say it, so it helps because I'm
yeah,
just,
I think that's the main one.
Thanks to the assistance from the FBI and NCCU, Reuters reported that he is accused of causing almost $3 million of damages to Uber and accessing across 5,000 Revolut customers' information. This hacker is also accused, alongside his 17-year-old, of blackmailing BT Group, Britain's biggest broadband provider, and mobile operator EE between July and November of 2021. They demanded a $4 million ransom. The pair was also alleged to be behind a hack of NVIDIA. God, dude, these guys, man, they're just all over the place. Like,
These children, dude.
these black hat children, they're just going around just hacking everything with malicious intent. It's crazy, dude. I mean, it's one of those things that makes you wonder, like, how people figure out stuff like this, right? Like, and one, you have to have a lot of time in your hands, and two, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's wild to me. I mean, they're probably, what's funny too is they're probably really smart, which is like the ironic thing about it, because it's like, if you can do all that, like hacking all that, unless you're doing it purely based off social engineering, then I mean, which is also a talent of its own, but anyways,
That's true.
The 12 offenses that the crook faces include 3 counts of blackmail, 2 counts of fraud, and 6 charges under the Computer Misuse Act. I previously pleaded guilty to 1 count of fraud, 2 offenses under the Computer Misuse Act, and breaching bail conditions. He's been arrested, or he has been assessed by by psychologists. I guess I'll say. I don't know. Say that word. Say that one. By mental experts, as not fit to stand trial. In the UK, this means that someone does not have the capacity to stand trial due to a disability or mental disorder. This disability must be such that they cannot understand the charges, the nature of the proceedings, or the evidence. Which is interesting because, like I said, you have to be pretty smart to do this kind of stuff. So the fact that they're mentally unfit for trial is interesting to me. Unless they have some sort of disability, which, who knows. But yeah, dude, it was, a couple of teenagers that almost leaked the entirety of GTA 6's source code. Could you imagine if that source code went out? I mean, crazy, It's like
Probably change everything.
I mean, just just seeing the hacks and everything. It's I mean, yeah, seeing that, like I said, we obviously didn't cover it at the time because, like, I ain't about promoting that kind of stuff. But it's like, but yeah, I mean, I unfortunately saw a couple of the screenshots and even a couple of the videos, and I was like,
so did I. They
dang,
were about to change everything too.
It was kind of like, I mean, this might be legit, and then later on we find out from Take-Two themselves, like, oh yeah, it's legit, and we're taking kind of legal action almost. It was insane, man, because like we haven't seen a leak that big in a while. Especially of a game of that size. So, I mean, just it's one of those things, and it makes you wonder. I think some of these leaks too. I think it's it's not only just like they're hacking into the network, but it's like someone at the company clicked a weird link, and then all of a sudden it's like it gives the hacker a backdoor, and then they can just access everything. It's I'm sure that's probably what it was, right? Either someone from HR or some department that's not tech savvy, and that's why a lot of companies they try to promote They try to they'll do like kind of like tests to see if people actually can understand, or they'll kind of like just they'll be more aware of like be aware of links and stuff like that. But I've also it's funny too. I've heard of companies that they'll pose like fake, like like links and stuff like that
Fake
on
links.
purpose,
See who
and they'll
clicks.
see who clicks, and they'll be like, "All right, you are all idiots," kind of thing. Um, yeah, so it's interesting, but um, yeah, I think I think it's probably one of those like probably something like that happened. Yeah, I don't know, Mike, dude. Are you should do you feel inferior to these teenagers, dude? That they are just getting all this stuff, getting all this
Uh,
code, dude.
I don't know, man. Inferior? No, probably never. But when it comes to like hacking and being able to do that, that's pretty neat. I've always found that pretty fascinating. I do think that if you have that ability, you can still make money.
Oh yeah,
Like it's not going to be as much, but if you can hack into one of these like major companies, they'll pay you to show how you got in
yeah.
because that's
There's,
like
I mean,
valuable information to save on real like
yeah.
money.
I
You
mean, I
know?
know you know about it. The sites where it's literally like you go on and say, okay, if you can find our vulnerabilities, we'll pay you a lot of money. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's just like these tasks almost. Um,
it
I
really
mean,
are. It's
I've seen
like
something like
break in
Spotify.
this way.
Yeah, it's like Spotify will put out like bounties to be like, hey, like you can if you can like get in or you can get information from us or find a vulnerability, we'll pay you thousands because it's good info to have.
Yeah,
So I mean,
easily. Yeah,
what we're saying is, if you're a black hat, consider to be like the gray white hat. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, and lean more towards the white
yeah,
hat, where you're like willing to kind of help out companies because, yeah, a lot of that information is very valuable.
yeah. But 12 counts. This person faces 3 counts of 12 offenses, 3 counts of blackmail, 2 counts of fraud, and 6 charges under Computer Misuse Act. I mean, 6 charges. I mean, that's just basically doubling up on his already charges. You know,
That's
it's
like
like
that's like asphalt black hat. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like that thing is
yeah. It's like,
concrete. I think
what are
it's
you doing, man? So
dark as the
obviously,
roads.
I don't know. Like I Google the person's name and like there are a couple images that show up and it's like it's pretty apparent. It's like, okay, the person helping him 17, this kid is probably like 18, 19.
Yeah.
This is the middle of when everything is shut down. Everybody's at home not doing anything.
It's true. Yeah.
It could be one of those stupid situations. I think they even made a movie about it. Like two young kids are just well that's a little bit redundant, but two kids are like just bored and they hack into stuff. What's it called? They hack into the game, the nuke game. You know what I'm talking about?
War games. Is that what you're talking about?
War games, right?
It's like
Yeah,
an
he like
old
hacks
movie.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
super old, like 80s old. Um, and they hack into the Russian like nuclear
Yeah,
site or
it's
something like
wild.
that.
Yeah, like an actual
Yeah, it
game
almost
too.
started like yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's like, oh, I could blow up the world. Sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they didn't realize and like good movie,
Oh,
good movie. Everybody should go see
yeah.
it.
Yeah, there's a
You
lot
know
of good
me
movies
and
out there.
in the movies.
Will look like I don't know how else to say it, man. We're an hour, almost an hour and a half. And I didn't know if we'd make it, but here we are, stretching it out once again.
Ah, we're an hour and 17 minutes and 56 seconds on my watch. So it's not that bad. I think we ranted a little bit about Microsoft and PlayStation and the Steam Deck a little bit, but
Yeah,
that's about it.
you know.
You know,
That's what it's what you're here for. You're here for our opinions. You understand?
yeah. Or what you could do is just click on the link at the bottom of each one of the episodes and read the article yourself. Or there's timestamps as well. So if
Yeah.
you don't want to hear us, you just click on that. You listen to us read the article, and then you go to the next one.
Just read that. And then at the very this thing, if you read that and don't watch, at the very least, leave a like and a comment. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is what I thought
Yeah,
of this article. You know what I mean? Be like, oh yes. Very well, sir. I agree with you. And then move on with our days.
maybe subscribe. I don't know.
Yeah, all right.
Maybe
That's
subscribe.
right there. Below the like button's all the links. Next to it's the subscribe button. It's kind of just probably
Yeah.
right down there. So see, Mike's pointing to the like
Check out the
button.
other.
I'm pointing to this, and then check
Oh.
out. And notice in the first like 15-30 seconds, everyone of the episode, there's be a little title card that pops up right there. The previous episodes, if you missed it, we just conveniently
My man's
just
crushing it.
right there. You know what I'm saying?
The other thing we're gonna do is more YouTube shorts. I got a couple in the works that I need to actually edit myself. They're in like preliminary focus, and I sent it to Kyle over here. He's like, "That looks good," and I'm just like, "Yes." If I get this man's approval, it should be decent. So, all right, I guess. Do you have anything else to add? We already talked about the links in the description. We got timestamps if anybody wants to check them out. We appreciate you for tuning in, by the way. But you got anything for him, Kyle?
So, I mean, all I'm saying is, next week is the birthday episode, so may or may not have a little special headgear. You know what I'm saying? So
Heck
we'll
yeah,
see.
dude.
See for the
Yeah, I need to
birthday.
find some headgear if you're gonna do something like that. It's
So
also Sea of Thieves. I could wear the captain hat.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, before we go, Mike, though, I have to say, you gonna expose yourself, dude? Open up, crack the PC, see what the dust's looking like.
Oh, you want to see the PC? All right, let's do. Do I take off the front panel? You want me to? Okay, let me
That's
say.
what I'm gonna do.
Okay, the front panel.
I
I
just
just
do the
gotta
front
unplug
panel and the
my.
filter. I have a filter on mine, so I just turn the filter off. Oh my gosh. Oh, bro, you messed your mic up, dude. It's so loud and obnoxious. I don't know what happened. I had to mute you, dude. I'm over here just listening to nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's still very bad. I had to mute it again. I think the RTX voice messed up, and now it's like doing that very loud, weird thing. You know, and the listeners will know what I'm talking about. They probably screamed if they're making it this far into the episode. But yeah. So, anyways, I will. While you're working on that, I'm going to go grab my plate. What you got? It's still bad. Okay, I'm gonna completely forgot I'm using the front USB ports on my PC. So it is very much okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will describe it. So Mike pulled off his little front dust. Dude, that thing is covered, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's fine. Anyways, I'm explaining to the audience. Yeah, that thing, Mike's front plate is completely covered. So, yeah, so I would take mine off. However, I have stuff plugged into the front of my PC. So, it makes it a little difficult for me to take the filter out at the moment. And one of those things plugged in is my camera. So, camera would come out too. But, yeah. So, yeah, sorry. I just, yeah. Mike's his mic is it's very bad. So this is this is the thing. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to getting the episode here. Hope you enjoyed this week in gaming news. Oh, it is still very bad. So anyways, I'll be sending you guys off. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you check the description. Check everything in the description. We always leave links to the articles, timestamps, whatnot. Keep an eye on the channel as well for any shorts, any segments, or anything like that. And we will see you guys next week for the birthday episode, my birthday episode. Say goodbye, Mike. I'm gonna see if Mike sees me. Say bye to everyone. Bye, guys. Hope you enjoyed.